Chapter 253. Bang! Luo Qingtong's sword light was suddenly shattered. Haha! Evil Dr. Gui Tong. Don't try to be brave if you're not a real martial king. You're dead. Give me your life. The middle-grade martial king was overjoyed. He hurriedly waved his weapon and attacked Luo Qingtong. His attack just now was also very strange. This evil Dr. Ghost I did not have the slightest bit of appearance that a martial general should have. Sword light against sword light, directly clashing with him for more than 10 moves. If it weren't for her aura indicating that she was a martial general, he would have thought that she was a real martial king. Her talent was simply monstrous to the extreme. But now no matter how monstrous she was doomed. Arrogant and conceited, she was digging her own grave. While the low-grade martial king was shocked and relieved, he didn't show any mercy in his attacks. He directly and viciously attacked to kill. He must kill Luo Qingtong here. This kind of monstrous genius was too terrifying. There was no information about her strength in the pavilion. It could be seen how deep she hid. But this wasn't the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that this monstrous genius was actually a spiritual array master and an alchemist. Both of them were not weak. This was simply terrifying. Hey, this woman, she didn't fail miserably, did she? Seeing that the middle-grade martial king's attack was about to hit Luo Qingtong, Little Pig felt that something was wrong. He stomped his hooves and rushed over to help. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's aura suddenly changed. Boom! A wave of air burst out from Luo Qingtong's body. The aura of a 9th-grade martial general changed. It became the aura of a great martial general. It was as if a small bridge suddenly turned into a small river. The aura surging in the river was much more vigorous and cold. Rank up. Great martial general. Thank you for sparring with me. Luo Qingtong smiled wantonly under the Rakshasa ghost mask. When she left that man's side, she had a faint feeling that she was about to make a breakthrough in her cultivation realm. This time, with the help of this inferior martial king realm assassin, he finally made a breakthrough. Perfect promotion. His aura was extremely condensed. As a thank you gift, I'll send you on a painless journey of death. You don't have to thank me when you reach hell. After saying that, Luo Qingtong directly stretched out her hands. Because he had just advanced and filled up his meridians, the aura of power was boiling. In the next second, the unique aura of a great martial general suddenly erupted. First move of the heaven-conquering art, stealing heaven's fortune. It was the tyrannical killing move that Luo Qingtong had learned from Xianxia. This time, without the assistance of the man's aura, Luo Qingtong clearly felt that the power of her move was much weaker. However, this weak was only relative to how she'd annihilated numerous half-saint realm experts with a single strike of her sword. The heaven-conquering art she'd displayed now, even if she'd only displayed 1/10 of its previous power, was not something that this inferior martial king realm assassin could resist. When Luo Qingtong said that she'd send him to hell, the latter snorted disdainfully. Even if the other party had suddenly advanced to the great martial general realm, she wouldn't be able to easily kill him, let alone send him to hell. However, when he saw Luo Qingtong's move, his eyes widened and filled with disbelief. Unstoppable, unstoppable. What level of move was this? Boom. A dark black sword light flashed. In an instant, the inferior martial king realm expert's eyes widened. He didn't even have time to scream as he fell straight down. Chapter 254. Phew. The moves taught by that man are indeed powerful. This was the first time that Luo Qingtong used her own strength to execute the moves taught by Xianxia. Sure enough, the man's moves were no ordinary moves. She didn't know what level they were. She was only able to execute them with the help of the life and death in Yang sword, which had just become a great general. Moreover, she was able to kill the inferior martial king realm assassin in one strike. This time, Luo Qingtong didn't have Xianxia's strength in her body. Last time, when she killed Elder Lu, she had to use Xianxia's strength and raging flame slash to kill him. This time, she relied on her own strength to kill him. Moreover, the strength of this inferior martial king realm assassin was even stronger than Elder Lu's. It's good that I met that man this time. I didn't get caught in vain. Luo Qingtong let out a sigh of relief. She put away the life and death in Yang sword, squinted her eyes and chuckled. This killing move could be used as a trump card. Who would have thought that she, a great general, could kill a martial king realm assassin? It would be great if she could use it to trick people in the future. Woman, you didn't even tell me you were doing something. You almost scared me to death. Little Pig jumped onto her shoulder at this time. It was really scared just now. It thought that this woman had overplayed her hand and failed. You underestimate me too much. Luo Qingtong casually lifted her hand and withdrew the formation around her. Then she flicked Little Pig's pink nose. Do you think I'm you? She had just sensed the possibility of a breakthrough, so she simply used the inferior martial king realm assassin to hone her skills. However, the effect was obviously very good. Luo Qingtong's life blade fought with the assassin while absorbing his strength and integrating it into her own body. This time the promotion was perfect. His foundation was very solid. Even if she didn't use her pupil technique and the man's martial skill, Luo Qingtong could still defeat those of the same level. Supreme Assassin Pavilion. Turning the corpses over, Luo Qingtong searched their bodies. She only found a blank wooden tablet on the body of the inferior martial king realm expert. Other than that, there was nothing that could prove their identities. If Luo Qingtong had not seen a half-saint realm assassin dressed in the same clothes as these people from the Supreme Assassin Pavilion, she would not have known that these assassins were from the Supreme Assassin Pavilion. The security measures were pretty good. Luo Qingtong disposed of the corpses. She was secretly guessing who had hired the Supreme Assassin Pavilion to deal with her. Fortunately, the other party was obviously targeting her identity as an evil doctor, so the Luo family would not be implicated. Luo Qingtong circled a few candidates in her heart, then went straight back to her room and closed the door to sleep. Early the next morning, the waiter who came to ask Luo Qingtong if she wanted to have breakfast saw the courtyard full of destruction. It was as if a storm had passed through. He was instantly confused and hurried to call the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper hurried over and saw that his own backyard had almost been split in half. Only then did he understand what Luo Qingtong meant by compensation yesterday. Oh my God! Was that guest a professional demolisher? This courtyard had been completely torn down. The shopkeeper, who originally thought that he had made a fortune and cheated a big family, wanted to cry but had no tears. It turned out that the guest was so generous that she wanted him to use the money to repair the house. Fortunately, this guest lived in his own courtyard, not his own inn. Otherwise, wouldn't he suffer a great loss? Chapter 255. Dongli Country, Windgaze City. The Luo family. Grandfather, why are you being so stubborn? In the courtyard where Old Master Luo lived, Luo Xinning appeared in front of Old Master Luo in a purple flowing dress. She was not as gentle as she used to be. Instead, she appeared domineering and arrogant. The Luo family will be mine sooner or later. Luo Xinning wore a light-colored veil on her face. She had removed her mask and her eyes were full of ambition. Grandfather, even if you don't admit it, you can't change the fact. She looked at the angry elder Luo with a smile in her eyes. She bowed slightly, opened her hands and twirled in front of elder Luo. Do you see? Grandfather, I'm already a martial general. And I'm a rank 4 martial general. I'm an intermediate martial general. How can Luo Qingtong compare to me? Luo Xinning smiled disdainfully. In terms of age, I'm younger than her. In terms of appearance, I'm not much worse than her. In terms of cultivation, she went through life and death in the 9 Magi Mountain and only broke through to the martial master realm. How can it be compared to my rank 4 martial general? Grandfather, you didn't acknowledge my position in the Luo family and even thought that I stole Luo Qingtong's things. But in this world, hasn't it always been the law of the jungle? I'm stronger than Luo Qingtong. Why should I be below her? You think I stole Luo Qingtong's things? I can tell you now. Without Luo Qingtong's recommendation letter, I can enter the Tianyu Branch Academy with my own strength. As for that armor, treasures have spirits and they belong to the capable. I'm stronger than Luo Qingtong. Of course, that armor should belong to me. At this point, Luo Xinning raised her head proudly. I don't want that recommendation letter anymore. But Luo Xinning smiled coldly and stroked her fingernails. Even if I don't use it, I won't give it to Luo Qingtong. Isn't it because of her engagement with the 5th prince that she is able to enjoy this special privilege? I'll let the world know that without the protection of the Tianyu royal family, Luo Qingtong is nothing. Grandfather, I have to thank you for this. Luo Xinning smiled. If you didn't protect Luo Qingtong and break off the engagement with the Tianyu royal family and humiliate them, I wouldn't have the opportunity today. My current strength is all thanks to you, Grandpa. In the future, when I trample Luo Qingtong to the bottom of the mud, I will definitely not forget Grandfather's deep love for me. Huh. Are you done? If you're done, then get lost. I don't have a granddaughter like you. Grandpa Luo glared coldly at the girl in purple in front of him. He didn't expect Luo Xinning. Luo Qingtong. Martial General Realm. She wondered how much effort Tianyu's royal family had put in to help her improve. Tianyu's royal family had put in a lot of effort just to make things difficult for him and Qingtong. Old Master Luo glanced at the two guards beside Luo Xinning who were obviously not weak. He suppressed the irritable urge to attack and chased them away rudely. He would not give those who obviously came with ill intentions a chance to attack. However, Luo Xinning did not care about what he said. Chapter 256. Luo Xinning sneered. Because of her, you offended the royal family of Tianyu and caused the Luo family to be suppressed. All of this is caused by Luo Qingtong. She should be the one to be chased out of the Luo family. Come on. Luo Xinning waved her hand. Go to the main yard of the Luo family and throw out all of Luo Qingtong's belongings. Burn them all. Luo Xinning sneered in her heart. Previously, when Luo Qingtong came back to establish her dominance, she directly threw the second branch of the Luo family's things out of the main courtyard and burned them. She had always remembered this incident. Now she was going to get it all back. How dare you? How dare you? Old Master Luo was furious. He was worried about the Luo family and did not want to give the people around Luo Xinning a chance to attack. However, he did not expect them to be so aggressive and wanted to take over the Luo family and chase Luo Qingtong out of the Luo family. Elder Luo was not going to hold back any longer. He knew what was going on. Luo Xinning came back for the Luo family. She wanted to take over the Luo family? Luo Xinning, a wild girl who married into the Luo family while her mother was pregnant, was not worthy. Elder Luo was furious. He slammed the table and stood up. Without saying anything, he attacked. Bang. The two people beside Luo Xinning were waiting for Elder Luo to attack. The two of them stood out, one on the left and one on the right, shielding Luo Xinning behind them. They also released their chi at the peak of the martial marquis realm and clashed with Elder Luo. How dare a martial marquis attack his own granddaughter? Elder Luo, you are old and confused. Let the young ones take charge of the Luo family. One of them mocked as he suddenly took a step back. That's right. Grandpa, you are old. I think someone else should take charge of the Luo family. For example, my father. Luo Xinning was already prepared for Old Master Luo's attack. The moment Old Master Luo made his move, she immediately dodged backwards. Just as Old Master Luo thought, she came back this time to anger Old Master Luo. She wanted to change the Luo family. It was Old Man Luo's fault for going to the royal family of Tianyu to break off the engagement and angering the Empress and Princess Qi. Stripping the Luo family of their authority was only the first step. It was time for him to vent his anger after so many years. Luo Xinning sneered. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a loud rumble resounded. The whole courtyard of the Luo family suddenly shook. In the next second, boom! Amidst a thunderous explosion, the two men who were protecting her and attacking Grandfather Luo were sent flying backward as if they had suffered a heavy blow. Luo Xinning was caught off guard. Before she could react, she was sent flying by the two of them. The three of them flew backward at the same time. With a bang, they directly knocked down the courtyard wall not far away. Luo Xinning was in a sorry state. She was pressed to the ground by the two peak martial lords. Her breasts were almost flattened. The pain made her tear up. As for the two peak martial marquis experts on her body, they directly spat out a mouthful of blood. They were obviously badly injured. Elder Luo, who was originally furious, was stunned when he saw this. Around the Luo family, the group of people who were about to attack in secret retracted their auras and hid themselves again. It's the array set up by Master. One of the battle slaves said in a low voice. Indeed. It seems that the relationship between Master and Grandfather Luo is not shallow. We must protect him well. Yes. Chapter 257. In the courtyard, the two martial marquis realm experts also reacted. They supported each other and stood up in a sorry state. They looked at old Master Luo with a bewildered expression. They did not expect the Luo family to have an array. And it was not weak. Could it be that they were lucky enough to meet a spirit array master? It seemed that they had to go back and make a plan. As they thought about it, their eyes flashed. They looked at each other and did not dare to be presumptuous anymore. They helped each other up and left. Of course, they did not forget to take Luo Xianing with them. Otherwise, with what he had done, he would have been beaten to death by old Master Luo. Bang! Master Luo wanted to chase after them and make Luo Xianing stay. This woman did not care about anything for her ambition. She would only be a scourge. However, the two martial lords at the peak of the martial lord realm joined forces and took Luo Xianing away. Master Luo was so angry that he slammed the stone table in front of him into two halves. Get Luo Lauer here. He shouted angrily. He wanted to ask Luo Lauer if he knew what Luo Xianing had done. Now that he knew, what should he do? If he wanted that daughter, he would pretend that he did not have a son. Master Luo was furious. On the other side, Luo Xianing was in an extremely difficult position. She was so close to being kept in the Luo family by Master Luo. Looking at the murderous look on his face, how could Luo Xianing not know that if she was really left behind, only death awaited her? Why was the heavens so unfair? Why did he give Luo Qingtong all the good things? Grandpa protected her and the fifth prince wanted to marry no one but her. Even the Queen of Tianyu could not do anything about it. She finally had a chance to turn things around, and there was a spiritual array master protecting her in the Luo family. Luo Xianing was mad with hatred. She came back this time for the position of the successor of the Luo family. That was why she kept pressuring Master Luo. However, who would have thought that there was an array in the Luo family? When did this happen? Why did she not know about it? Master Luo had been guarding against her all this time. And that Luo Qingtong, she used to be so good to her. In the end, the fact that the Luo clan had an array formation and knew a spiritual array master was actually hidden from her. Luo Xianing was furious. Luo Xianing, how dare you not tell me that the Luo clan has an array formation? The two experts at the peak of the martial lord realm were extremely displeased. They were ordered by the royal family of Tianyu to protect and help Luo Xianing fight against Luo Laozi. However, because of her carelessness, she almost died in the Luo family. When grandfather Luo tried to make them stay, they didn't even dare to fight back. He was afraid that he would have to endure the backlash of the array while enduring Elder Luo's attack. The two of them had never been in such a sorry state before. They immediately looked at Luo Xianing with an unfriendly expression. If it weren't for the fact that she was a member of the Luo family and was the most suitable person to deal with Luo Leioi and Luo Qingtong so that Princess Qi and the Empress could vent their anger, they wouldn't have to serve a little girl. Even her strength as a fourth-rank martial general was forcefully raised by the Tianyu royal family using countless precious elixirs and herbs. Under such circumstances, Luo Xianing was not of any use. Why did they still keep her around? I don't know. Luo Xianing gritted her teeth. Humph. Save your words for yourself and explain it to the higher-ups. The two of them spoke and left, leaving Luo Xianing alone in the room with hatred. Chapter 258. Who's there? The two of them were completely unaware that they were being followed. When they left Windgaze City and came to a secluded forest, they suddenly realized there was movement around them. Someone who wants your lives. The battle slaves by Luo Qingtong's side all had the ability to hide their auras after being trained by her. When there was no one around, they revealed themselves and stared coldly at the two of them. These two were peak martial marquises. If they followed Luo Xianing, they would inevitably hurt grandfather Luo in the future. Therefore, when they left the Luo residence with Luo Xianing, a group of people followed them. Luo Xianing was from the second branch of the Luo family. The group of battle slaves did not know the relationship between their master and the Luo family, so they did not dare to act rashly. However, these two people had to be eliminated. How dare they attack old Master Luo? The group of battle slaves was ordered to protect grandfather Luo. If there was a hidden danger that could harm grandfather Luo, they had to eliminate it immediately. Otherwise, how could they bear the consequences of failing their master's orders? Others might not know their master's abilities, but they knew. Boom. As soon as the group of battle slaves appeared, they immediately charged towards the two experts at the peak of the martial marquis realm who were surrounded. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you attack us? Do you know that we are from the imperial family of Tianyu? The two of them did not expect that in a small and remote country like Dongli, there would be a group of martial marquises waiting to kill them. What was going on? In a small and inferior country like Dongli, if there were a few martial marquises, they could not wait to be conferred the title of marquis. This group of people was obviously someone else's subordinates. Seeing the group of battle slaves charging at them, the two peak martial marquises sent by the imperial family of Tianyu were shocked and enraged. Especially when they found out that there were also peak martial marquises and they were not weak, they were even more shocked and enraged. As they dodged, they shouted angrily. However, their words had no effect on the group of battle slaves. The imperial family of Tianyu? The peak martial marquis leading the group looked disdainful. So what? With their master's monstrous talent and medical skills, even the imperial family would treat her as a guest of honor if she did not intentionally hide it. Moreover, with the bloody arena in the Black Field, the imperial family of Tianyu was nothing. The two peak martial marquises did not expect the other party to look down on the imperial family of Tianyu. They felt uneasy. Then he looked at the group of battle slaves who were strong and skilled in besieging and attacking without mercy. They didn't look like they came from a small place like the Eastern Fence country at all. He felt even more terrified. They attacked with all their might before turning around to flee. However, they were stopped by a group of battle slaves. Leaving. Since all the battle slaves had made an appearance, they were naturally confident in their ability to annihilate them here. So, all of them immediately erupted with their auras and executed forbidden techniques to forcefully keep them here. They took out the medicinal liquid Luo Qingtong gave them to recover their strength. At the same time, they used the forbidden technique to recover their strength. After doing all this, they turned and prepared to leave. Chapter 259. Ah, look what I found. A group of ants actually have a medicinal liquid that can repair meridians and prevent the backlash from the forbidden technique. Hey, you can stay here. Tell me the source of that medicinal liquid. As he spoke, a black shadow suddenly flashed out from the darkness of the dense forest. Who is it? Suddenly hearing such a voice, the group of battle slaves were all very vigilant. The expert at the peak of the martial lord realm suddenly made a gesture and prepared to retreat with the group of battle slaves. However, as soon as they moved, a voice rang out. Swish, swish, swish. In the dense forest, countless figures flashed out. At the same time, the corpses of the two peak martial lords that they had just killed suddenly stood up as if they were pulled by something. JJ, what you just said to the two of them, I'll return it to you now. That is, it's too late to leave. This voice was indescribably cold and strange. Against the gloominess of the surrounding dense forest, it made people's hearts tremble. As he spoke, the figures, along with the two experts at the peak of the martial marquis realm who had just been killed, suddenly pounced on them. Puppet. The opponent is a soul master. And a soul master who is very powerful and has a strange soul seal. Go quickly. We can't be caught by him. Seeing the movements of the two peak martial marquis corpses, and then seeing their stiff limbs and ashen complexions, the group of battle slaves were all experienced and knowledgeable people. They immediately reacted. The opponent was a soul master who had a special soul seal. And he was extremely powerful. Just by looking at how he was able to control the two peak martial lords' corpses with a raise of his hand, and the strength he displayed was actually not weaker than when they were alive. They knew that the strength of this soul master was definitely above the martial lord realm. Go quickly. We must inform master about this. The other party actually took a fancy to the medicinal liquid that their master gave them. The battle slaves felt that something was wrong and hurriedly wanted to retreat. However, just as they were halfway through their movements, in an instant, countless thread-like forces mixed in with the attacks of those figures suddenly hit their bodies. Swish, swish, swish. Almost instantly, the bodies of the battle slaves stiffened. They wanted to avoid the attacks of those figures, but they could not avoid these threats at all. Got it. In the darkness, a ghost-like figure floated out. It was an old man who looked like a dwarf. His wrinkled skin wrapped around his body. Countless strands of power floated around his body like strands of silk. It was this power that froze the group of battle slaves and turned them into uncontrollable statues. Soul King. Sensing the surging power around the other party, the group of battle slaves who couldn't move or speak were filled with shock and horror. You guys don't look like people who possess such a precious medicinal liquid, yet you can actually drink it like water. You don't cherish it. It seems that the person who gave you the medicinal liquid must have a deep relationship with you. I'll use you guys as puppets first and then lure that person out. As the old man spoke, there was a series of crackling sounds. His bones suddenly stretched and his aura and appearance changed as well. He turned into the appearance of the leading peak martial marquis realm battle slave. He stood there laughing towards the sky and suddenly leaped away. The group of battle slaves were under his control and could only be forced to leave with him. However, in their hearts there was a wave of shock and anxiety. Chapter 260. What? The two peak martial marquises are dead? The next day, Luo Xining did not even dare to leave her house after waiting for the two peak martial marquises for a long time. She gritted her teeth and contacted the royal family of Tianyu. She wanted to ask if they were not going to deal with the Luo family and Luo Qingtong. However, she received such a piece of news which made her shiver. Dead? The two peak martial marquises were dead? They were two peak martial marquises. Not just any Tom, Dick or Harry. Luo Xining could not believe it. However, the royal family of Tianyu gave an affirmative answer. They wanted to ask Luo Xining what was going on. The soul lamps of the two peak martial marquises were extinguished almost at the same time. In the entire eastern border country, who had such great power to silently kill two peak martial marquis realm experts? The royal family of Dongli country might be able to, but they would not dare to do so. I don't know. Luo Xining was flustered by the royal family of Tianyu's question. How could it be? How could it be? The two peak martial marquises died just like that. After they went to the Luo family with her. Wait, Luo Xining's face suddenly stiffened. The two peak martial marquis realm cultivators had disappeared without a trace after going to the Luo clan with her. When did they die? She asked anxiously. The royal family of Tianyu sent her a time. Instantly Luo Xining could not help but tremble. It's that spiritual array caster. It must be her. Luo Xining screamed in her heart. She had been wondering if the spiritual array caster was really there. Maybe the Luo family got the array by accident. But now, the death of the two peak martial marquises left her with no doubt. How could it be so coincidental? She had just gone to the Luo family to make trouble, and the two peak martial marquises died. Someone must have warned them not to do anything to the Luo family. Spiritual array caster. There was really a spiritual array caster behind the Luo family. Luo Xining gritted her teeth. At the same time, she knew she could not let the royal family of Tianyu know about this. Otherwise, the other party might not have dealt with the Luo family and Luo Qingtong again. After all, it was just a moment of anger. Going against a spiritual array master was not worth it. Moreover, the fifth prince did not intend to annul his engagement with Luo Qingtong. If they knew that the Luo clan had a spiritual array master backing them up, the Tianyu imperial family would definitely give up and stop bothering the Luo clan. How could this be? Luo Xining was counting on the royal family of Tianyu to deal with Luo Qingtong and the Luo family. Otherwise, she would have been beaten to death by grandfather Luo for all the things she had done. Thinking of this, Luo Xining's face turned ugly. Fortunately, the time for Tianyu Branch Academy's recruitment test was just around the corner. As long as she could get through this period of time and enter the Tianyu Branch Academy, no one would be able to do anything to her. Luo Qingtong, I won't let you have an easy time. Since the Luo clan is protected by a spirit array master, if I can't get the Luo clan, then I will destroy it. Luo Xining's expression was vicious. I don't know what's going on either. But it must have something to do with the Luo family. Maybe there is someone else behind the grandfather. She said half-truthfully. After all, Luo Qingtong's mother was able to cure the fifth prince's innate cold illness. Chapter 261. That's right. Since that's the case, let's start from somewhere else. You won't miss it, right? The man narrowed his eyes at Luo Xining. Don't forget how the Empress and the 7th princess nurtured you. Once you enter the Tianyu Branch Academy, you will have everything you want. Don't make a mistake. I know. Luo Xinning sneered in her heart. If it was before, she would definitely miss the Luo clan. But now she couldn't wait for the Luo clan to be completely destroyed. That way Luo Qingtong would lose her backing. Then she would see what she could use to compete with her. As for the Luo clan, after destroying it she could just build a new one. A Luo clan that belonged solely to her. Luo Xinning raised her head. I will satisfy the Empress and the 7th princess. Very good. The man from the Tianyu imperial family left with satisfaction. After he left, Luo Xinning called for a servant girl with a cold gaze. Go to the Luo clan and call my father. Outside Windgaze City, a red figure flashed through the streets like a bolt of lightning. Luo Qingtong hurried along with Little Pig. Not long after, she saw the tracking mark left by the battle slaves. Following the mark, Luo Qingtong entered Nine Magi Mountain. The spirit ship was huge, so the battle slaves must have parked it at Nine Magi Mountain. Luo Qingtong wanted to meet with them and ask about the situation in Windgaze City and the Luo clan. While she was at it, she kept the spirit ship. After all, it wasn't good to leave such a big target outside. Luo Qingtong didn't want to attract too much attention. Previously she had no other choice. Now that she had the useless ring from Little Pig, she could keep the flying ship. Master. The moment Luo Qingtong entered Nine Magi Mountain, a battle slave came to greet her. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows as she looked at the pinnacle martial lord battle slave who had walked out from the dense forest leading to Windgaze City. You've been waiting here? Her eyes were empty, but there was a faint flash of blood in them. Yes. This subordinate was afraid that he would miss his master's return, so he purposely waited here. Master, I have an urgent matter to report to you. The battle slave expert at the peak of the martial lord realm said as he approached Luo Qingtong. Was that so? Luo Qingtong stared at him. Through her eye technique, she could clearly see that there was something wrong with the other party's body. Interesting. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. She sized up this peak martial marquis war slave, and realized that if she did not use her eye technique, his disguise would be flawless. From his aura to his appearance to his figure, there were no flaws at all. This was the first time Luo Qingtong had seen such a disguise technique. It was better than any disguise she had ever seen. If not for her eye technique, she would have been deceived by the other party. Let's go back and talk. Where are the others? Pretending not to notice anything, Luo Qingtong allowed the other party to approach. The others are inside the mountain range. Master, let me take you there. The peak martial marquis expert said as he got closer and closer to Luo Qingtong. When he was 3 meters away from the girl, swish swish swish. Strands of thread-like power suddenly burst out from his body and attacked Luo Qingtong. Seeing the clear threads of power in her eye technique, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She didn't move from her spot. Got you. Chapter 262. I didn't expect that the one who refined the medicinal liquid would be such a young and beautiful girl. Good. That shriveled dwarf old man looked at Luo Qingtong's gorgeous face and laughed lecherously. Later, when you've concocted the medicinal liquid that I want, I'll make you want to die. That old man's laughter was sinister and evil. Looking at Luo Qingtong, his gaze was full of evil intentions. Luo Qingtong looked at him. The blood-red light in her eyes was like a biting cold blade. Her killing intent overflowed in all directions, but she didn't take any action. Swish swish swish. That old man's figure flitted. The power of countless silk threads fluttered and pulled Luo Qingtong's figure forward. Luo Qingtong felt the power of those silk threads tighten in her body and pulled forward. She didn't resist and let those silk threads pull her forward. Beside her there were several similar figures. All of them were corpses. Following that old man's movements, they flew out. These corpse puppets were all used by that shriveled dwarf old man to prevent Luo Qingtong from escaping. But he didn't expect that the other party would be so unguarded. Without using them at all, he captured her. Master. In the dark cave, seeing Luo Qingtong being pushed in, the group of battle slave experts were startled and hurriedly cried out. Jejia. I said before, no matter who your master is, I can capture her. That shriveled dwarf old man's voice resounded in the cave. But I didn't expect that the one who could concoct this medicinal liquid would be such a beautiful little girl. Jejia. Little girl, help me concoct a medicinal liquid that can restore the strength of my meridians, and I'll spare you and your subordinates' lives. I'll take you in as my 138th concubine. You won't have to worry about your life anymore. How about it? The shriveled dwarf old man's voice was lewd, and he looked at Luo Qingtong with a lustful gaze. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted Luo Qingtong to help him concoct the medicinal liquid, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold himself back from making a move on her. The young girl's face was as beautiful as a flower. She was absolutely gorgeous. Just by standing there she was like a jade goddess statue. She was beautiful to the extreme, causing people's hearts to itch unbearably. Luo Qingtong didn't say anything. The shriveled dwarf waited for a while before he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Think about it carefully. I'll come back tomorrow for an answer. If you're not satisfied, don't blame me for being ruthless. I have plenty of ways to make you submit. As he spoke, his eyes flashed with a sinister glint as he left. Master. The group of battle slaves looked worriedly at the girl standing in front of them. I'm fine. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. In her eyes she could clearly see where those threads of energy had pierced through the acupoints in her body. She could easily remove them. But that old man's strength was the most difficult to deal with. He was a Soul King expert and he had come for her medicinal liquid. Luo Qingtong thought about how to get rid of this trouble once and for all. Just at this moment, a voice rang out from the corner of the cave. Little girl, you're quite careless. You're still fine? I'll give you a clear path. Whether or not you can cure that old freak Xianxi's injuries, don't treat him. Otherwise your end will be extremely miserable. Chapter 263. Sigh. Don't scare the little girl. What difference does it make whether she agrees or not? That sinister Qi is vicious and has countless ways to torture her. In the end, won't she still die? Not to mention her, even we won't be able to escape. As soon as this voice rang out, the other voices instantly stopped. Then a wave of sighs rang out. Sigh. It's fate. If not for the fact that we were severely injured when we fought against the divine sky-connecting beast, we wouldn't have been subdued by that sinister Qi. Who would have thought that he would be so sinister and attack us all of a sudden? That's right. Sigh. This trip to the Nine Magi Mountain is really not worth it. We didn't get anything and we even lost our lives. Who would have thought? There was actually a divine sky-connecting beast in the Immortal sect ruins. These people's words instantly attracted Luo Qingtong's attention. Through her eye technique she could clearly see that there was a group of people in the corner of the cave. These people had unkempt hair and dirty faces. They did not care about their appearance and looked extremely miserable. However, the weakest of these people was actually an inferior martial king. Among them there were even 2 peak martial kings. However, they were all severely injured. Not only that, their bodies were also penetrated by the power of the threads. They had no strength to resist at all. Luo Qingtong looked at these people and blinked her eyes. Could it be that these people had rushed in to try their luck when the Nine Magi Mountain's Immortal Slayer Palace appeared? In the end, they were severely injured by the divine sky-connecting beast? Luo Qingtong remembered that when the divine sky-connecting beast appeared, it had chased after her for a long time. Later on, it had a huge battle with that man. These people might have been caught in the crossfire during the process. Then they were also quite unlucky. The divine sky-connecting beast was so powerful. Except for that man, the others would have died if they came close to it. It was already good enough that they were only injured. However, that sinister Qi had taken advantage of them. Luo Qingtong felt a headache for them. However, this had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. She was thinking of how to deal with this sinister Qi from these people's words. Luo Qingtong knew that this sinister Qi was a superior martial king. A soul king was already stronger than a martial king of the same rank. Moreover, old monster Xianxia was a soul king expert with a special soul seal. Her strength was even stronger than an ordinary peak martial king expert. His strength was comparable to a powerhouse who had just entered the martial royal realm. After these people were injured by the shockwaves from Xianxian's and the divine connecting beast's attacks, they encountered the equally injured Xianxia old monster and were immediately subdued by her. Although the power of the threads on old monster Xianxia's body could not completely control their movements like it could control low-level martial artists, but it was still able to seal their strength. The group of people were kept as food reserves for old monster Xianxia. Every once in a while, a person would be killed to maintain old monster Xianxia's strength. Of the dozens of people in the group, only a dozen or so were left. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. A high-class soul king. This was a little troublesome. If he couldn't kill her in one blow, the other party would definitely react immediately. At that time they would use the power of those threads to control the corpse puppets to attack. Luo Qingtong would inevitably be besieged. Moreover, the other party's soul king's strength was also quite good. No wonder the status of a soul master in the true Spill continent was much higher than that of a martial artist. Their combat strength was not on the same level. At the same rank, a soul master powerhouse with a soul seal was much more powerful than a martial artist. Luo Qingtong frowned as she pondered. An idea slowly formed in her mind. At this moment, a battle slave powerhouse's voice sounded. Chapter 264. When Luo Qingtong heard this, she raised her head and saw a group of battle slave experts looking at her. Master, we've been controlled by the other party. We definitely can't escape. If it weren't for us, you wouldn't have been caught. When we self-destruct, you should quickly leave. With your strength, you'll definitely be able to escape. These battle slave experts felt extremely guilty. If it weren't for their carelessness and old monster ghastly puppet discovered the medicinal liquid that Master had given them, they wouldn't have been caught and wouldn't have implicated Master. Now that they had made a big mistake, they didn't have any chance of survival anyway. It was better to help Master escape with all their strength. The group believed that if old monster ghastly puppet hadn't transformed into their appearance, Master wouldn't have been fooled and wouldn't have been caught. Especially the peak martial lord expert, he felt even more guilty and looked at Luo Qingtong with an indescribable determination. This suggestion was made by him. He was originally prepared to self-destruct, but the others all agreed and it became their collective action. Luo Qingtong looked at them, but before she could speak, the voices of the martial kings rang out. Oh, you're quite loyal to protect Master. I advise you to stop daydreaming. The power of the soul seal isn't ordinary power. It's sealed in the human body. It's impossible for you to make any movements of your own will. It's impossible for you to self-destruct. That's right. You all, these low-level martial artists, have too little experience. If we could self-destruct, we would have done it long ago. Why wait for death here? You'd better save your strength. Don't, what? Before the martial emperor realm experts finished their words, they suddenly raised their heads. They looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong in shock. They saw the young girl raise her hand to pat the dust off her body and tidy up her robe while she was at it. Her pair of dark and empty eyes indifferently looked at them. Oh, daydreaming? You. The group of martial kings stared at Luo Qingtong in shock and sluggishness, completely unable to understand what was going on. How did this young girl, who was clearly only a great general, do it? Could it be that when old monster ghastly puppet let her in, he didn't use his soul power to control her? It must be so. Otherwise, just as everyone was thinking this, they saw Luo Qingtong walk in front of a group of battle slave experts and raise her hand to slap them one by one. Pa pa pa. Everyone who was slapped by her felt their bodies tremble violently. The power of the threads that penetrated their bodies were instantly sent flying. Without anyone controlling it, the power of the soul imprint was easily dispersed by Luo Qingtong. Not a trace of power remained in the bodies of the battle slaves. In an instant they regained control of their bodies. We can move now. After moving their muscles and bones and feeling that they had regained control of their bodies, the group of battle slave experts were pleasantly surprised. They looked at Luo Qingtong with even more shock and awe. Master was indeed more powerful than usual. They originally thought that this was a life and death situation, but they didn't think that their master would easily resolve it. Looking at her master's nonchalant attitude, she couldn't have been caught on purpose before, right? Was it to save them? The group of battle slave experts were very moved. Master, let's get out of here quickly. After releasing the control of their bodies, the group of battle slaves hurriedly said. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. The light in her eyes glanced at the martial kings who were already stunned in the corner of the cave, and she turned to leave. Chapter 265. Wait, little friend. Wait. They hurriedly called out to Luo Qingtong. These martial king experts were already stunned by Luo Qingtong's actions. Old freak Yin-Chi's soul imprint was not something that an ordinary person could remove. With the strength of an upper-level soul king expert, one had to be at least a peak soul king or even a martial emperor expert to completely force the soul imprint out of the body. Otherwise, it was impossible to see the location of the soul imprint in the body. But Luo Qingtong easily did it. This was still a little girl in the great martial general realm. The group of martial king experts no longer cared about how Luo Qingtong did it. They only knew that Luo Qingtong could help them break away from old freak Yin-Chi's control. They no longer had to be lambs waiting to be slaughtered. This matter was more important than anything else. As for how this little girl did it, didn't old freak Yin-Chi say that she was an alchemist? She could also refine medicinal liquid that could repair meridians. Although when they heard it before, they felt that old freak Yin-Chi was desperate to find a doctor and randomly found a silly little girl to help him. But now that they saw Luo Qingtong's ability, they believed it. This girl must be a very powerful alchemist. Maybe she used some special method to remove those puppet threads. In short, it was fine as long as she could remove the soul imprint. God knows they were about to go crazy being trapped here. Little friend, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. At the same time, we are old freak Yin-Chi's enemies. As the saying goes, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Little friend, please save us. When we get out of danger, we will naturally reward you. Yes, little friend. Since you can remove that old freak's puppet technique, why don't you remove it for us? That old freak is outside. If you run out like this, it's inevitable that he will find you and hunt you down. With us here, it'll be easier to deal with him. The group of people tried their best to persuade Luo Qingtong. When they called out to Luo Qingtong, the girl's lips curled up. She was waiting for these people to stop her. Oh, save you. She turned around and suppressed the smile on her lips. Her dark and empty eyes looked in their direction. Without one ghastly puppet old monster, will it attract a bunch of ghastly puppet old monsters? As she spoke, she glanced at them meaningfully. Even though she couldn't see, everyone felt as if she was sweeping her gaze over them. Your strength is not weaker than that old ghastly puppet. How do I know that after you deal with that old ghastly puppet, you will not turn around and deal with me? Luo Qingtong snorted. I can escape the control of old freak Yin-Chi's threads, and I can also escape from him. So why should I save you? What if I save a bunch of ingrates? Wouldn't I be asking for trouble? The group was instantly speechless by Luo Qingtong's question. That's right. There was no need for this little girl to save them. She had already removed the power of those threads, and as long as she was careful not to attract the attention of old freak Yin-Chi, she could easily escape. There was no need for her to save them. On the contrary, saving them would easily lead to trouble in the future. However, they were waiting for Luo Qingtong to save them. Otherwise, when old freak Yin-Chi reacted and saw that Luo Qingtong and the rest had escaped, it would be strange if he didn't vent his anger on them. Thinking of this, the group of people became anxious. Just then, Luo Qingtong's voice slowly rang out. Chapter 266. Little friend, say it. Hearing that there was a chance, the group of people immediately said, That's right. As long as we can do it, we will absolutely agree. Yes. The group of people hurriedly nodded their heads. They originally thought that Luo Qingtong was unwilling to save them. The group of people was speechless, not knowing how to persuade Luo Qingtong. After all, they also didn't know how to make Luo Qingtong believe that they wouldn't turn against her. Seeing that the other party showed signs of agreeing, they naturally agreed regardless of the consequences. Anyway, no matter what the conditions were, it was better than losing their lives. But when Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, they were immediately dumbfounded. Didn't you guys say that yourselves? As long as you can do it, you will agree to any conditions? Luo Qingtong looked at them, the corners of her lips curled up into a smile. In that case, make a vow to the heavens and earth and recognize me as your master. The girl looked at them with a smile. The smile on her lips was 3 parts delicate and 7 parts evil. I will become your master, your life and death. I will naturally not ignore it. As for my secret, you will not leak it. This is the only way I can accept. It is also the only way I can be sure that you will not harm me. You can choose for yourselves. When Luo Qingtong said this, the smile on her lips didn't change, but her voice became cold little by little. Those who recognize me as their master live. Those who are stubborn die. Luo Qingtong would only save two kinds of people. One was the people she wanted to save, the other was the people she thought were her own people. Since these trapped martial king experts were not the first kind, they could only be the second kind. This is impossible. The group of martial king experts didn't expect Luo Qingtong to make such a request. A little girl of the great general realm actually wanted to take a group of martial king experts as her servants? This was really ridiculous. You are really going too far. We will not agree. A group of martial king experts were proud and arrogant. How could they tolerate being under a little girl of the great general realm? This was absolutely impossible. Immediately, someone fiercely retorted. Since that's the case, then you can wait for death here. Sco. Seeing that they didn't agree, Luo Qingtong didn't care. Although she was waiting for these people to call out to her, she would never let them see through her thoughts. This would be a competition to see who was more impatient. What he wanted was a chance to kill old freaking Qi, but what these people wanted was a chance to live. They would definitely give in. Luo Qingtong ignored them and led the group of battle slave experts out. The latter and the rest were very quiet. Even when they heard Luo Qingtong mention the condition of taking in these martial king experts as servants, no one exclaimed. From their point of view, Luo Qingtong wanting to take these people as servants was really a great opportunity for these people. These people don't know how powerful Master is. Otherwise, she would have cried and begged her master to take her in as a servant. Are martial kings very powerful? That's because Master hasn't fully grown yet. As early as when she was in the martial general realm, Master had already killed an early-stage martial king. What are these people? Only they would take themselves seriously. The group of battle slave experts glanced at them coldly and followed Luo Qingtong, preparing to leave. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Chapter 267. Little friend. Wait. Little friend. A middle-level martial king realm expert stopped Luo Qingtong. The next second he gritted his teeth and said, I agree. Damn. Lunatic. You're really crazy when I call you a lunatic? Why did you agree? It's not certain if such a little girl at the great martial general realm can escape from the pursuit of old monster Yin Qi. She definitely needs us. You actually agreed to her. Among the group of martial king realm experts, someone suddenly cursed. You know nothing. What if she can really escape? The middle-level martial king realm expert retorted, I'm not like you who cares about this and that. I'm all alone and I'm a lone wolf. She can save me, so what if I recognize her as my master? Staying alive is more important than anything else. This middle-level martial king realm expert was very straightforward. He didn't have a family to burden him, nor did he have any power behind him. It was nothing to recognize Luo Qingtong as his master. Wasn't it just having one more person working for her? It was better than losing his life. His words immediately attracted many people's attention. Especially since Luo Qingtong had already subdued this lunatic and didn't lack martial king realm experts around her. If they really left like this, they were really dead. Compared to their lives, everything else was really nothing. Wasn't it just losing their freedom? Immediately after this middle-level martial king realm expert agreed, several other martial king realm experts who were also independent and didn't belong to any sect or power also agreed. These people's agreement immediately made the rest of the people unable to sit still. Especially the 2 peak martial king realm experts. After seeing that half of the people had agreed, one of the peak martial king realm experts had an unsightly expression and finally agreed. In this way, only 1 peak martial king realm expert and the other 4 superior level martial king realm experts were left. They looked at Luo Qingtong and the group of martial king realm experts who had already made an oath to heaven and earth to recognize her as their master. Their faces were full of disdain. At this moment Luo Qingtong approached them. The 5 people thought that Luo Qingtong was trying to persuade them, so they immediately snorted disdainfully and closed their eyes. However, the next second, with a poochie sound, the long sword pierced into the flesh. The expert at the peak of the Martial King realm instantly opened his eyes and stared at Luo Qingtong. You. He wanted to say something but was pushed away by Luo Qingtong. Bang. His body fell to the ground, dying with his eyes wide open. This peak Martial King realm expert had never imagined that Luo Qingtong would dare to kill him. He had the power of old monster ghastly puppet's soul imprint in his body. It was not a big deal to remove it silently like Luo Qingtong, but killing him would definitely attract old monster ghastly puppet's attention. But Luo Qingtong killed him without hesitation. Didn't she want to escape? The other 4 superior-level Martial King realm experts? Luo Qingtong shook off the blood on the life and death yin-yang sword and did not even look at them. Kill. Yes. Before the other Martial King realm experts could react, a group of battle slave experts flew over and directly killed the 4 upper-class Martial King realm experts who wanted to beg for mercy in a hurry. They didn't need to ask the reason for their master's order. However, those Martial King realm experts who were still under control and had already recognized Luo Qingtong as their master started to panic. Chapter 268. That's why I want him to sense it. Luo Qingtong's voice was indifferent. She had never thought of escaping from the start. The reason why she wanted to leave was just to put on an act for these Martial King experts to see. Otherwise, why would they panic and acknowledge her as their master? Luo Qingtong wanted to borrow their strength to kill old monster Yin Qi, but to prevent them from rebelling she naturally had to control them. As for the 5 people who refused to submit, they were already at that stage and still refused to submit. They must have other ideas. For example, after they left, they would alert old monster Yin Qi and sell their information to old monster Yin Qi, then rely on him to hunt them down. How could Luo Qingtong give them the chance to sell her out? These people were too simple-minded. Did they think that her goal was only to escape? Old monster Yin Qi had seen her true face and coveted her medicinal liquid and her person. How could she ignore such a huge hidden danger? Of course she had to kill him. From the very beginning these trapped Martial King realm experts had been wrong. What? When the group of Martial King experts heard this, they were instantly dumbfounded. Wasn't Master's idea to escape? She had purposely lured old monster Yin Qi to a great martial general. Could it be that she wanted to kill him? Just as the group was thinking this, they saw Luo Qingtong take out a few bottles of medicinal liquid and hand them to the battle slave experts beside her. Let them drink it. Listen to my orders later and attack old monster Yin Qi. No way. Was Master really going to attack old monster Yin Qi? That was an upper-class Soul King expert. Although his meridians were damaged and his strength had decreased, if he were to disregard everything and explode he would still be very powerful. With that special soul seal and the ability to control puppets, it would not be a problem for him to fight against them. Even if all of them recovered their strength, they might not be able to make him stay. Furthermore, Master had not removed the control of those soul seals for them. Master, what are you trying to do? Sensing old monster Yin Qi's aura rapidly approaching, the group of trapped Martial King experts were about to cry. They recognized Luo Qingtong as their master because they wanted to live. However, Luo Qingtong's way of playing scared them. What are you afraid of? I won't let you die. Luo Qingtong took out the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree. With a few rustling sounds, the soul power of the 5 Martial King realm experts who had just died was sucked out and disappeared into the heart of the 1,000-year soul guiding tree with silent screams. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she sensed that the 1,000-year soul guiding tree's core had absorbed the 5 people's soul power and transformed it into some power. Not bad. This little bit of power was enough for her to use a killing move that surpassed the one she had used to kill the killer in the inferior Martial King realm. But this was still not enough. Old monster Yin Qi's strength was comparable to an ordinary martial emperor. Even if his meridians were damaged he would not be easy to deal with. Luo Qingtong still needed the help of these Martial King realm experts to create opportunities. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Luo Qingtong's figure flashed, and in an instant she had set up a formation in this cave. After doing all this she raised her eyes and motioned for the battle slave experts to stand still. They also pretended to be controlled and stood there. The group of Martial King realm experts trembled with fear as they watched. Not for anything else, but for the sake of the authenticity of the act, Luo Qingtong did not remove the puppet threads in their bodies. When old monster Yin Qi came, wouldn't he control them at any time? Chapter 269. The group of Martial King Realm experts shouted in their hearts as they bitterly recovered their strength passively. The medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong gave them was of the best quality. Almost the moment it entered their mouths, it began to recover their strength. Like old monster Yin Qi, these people's meridians were more or less injured by the attack of the heaven-connecting divine beast. But under the effect of Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid, these meridians' injuries were rapidly healing. Some of the people who had used the restrictive spell had the traces of the backlash in their bodies slowly disappearing. They were extremely shocked. They did not expect Luo Qingtong's refining ability to be so powerful. But no matter how powerful her refining ability was, it could not be converted into fighting strength. What's more, Luo Qingtong was just a little girl who had just entered the great general realm. What could she do against old monster Yin Qi? Their lives were all tied up with Luo Qingtong. If the other party died, they would also die with him. The group of people was thinking in their hearts when old monster Yin Qi, who sensed that something had happened here, quickly appeared in the cave. What's going on? Suddenly discovering the corpses of the 5 Martial King Realm experts, old monster Yin Qi's face suddenly turned cold. He immediately looked at the bodies of the other Martial King Realm experts. When he saw that the puppet threads around their bodies were still there, he suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that these people were not out of control. At this time he did not pay attention to Luo Qingtong and the others at all. After all, a group of martial marquis realm experts plus a great general realm beauty. Even if they all attacked together, he could easily kill them. There was no need to care at all. However, the moment he relaxed his mind, swish! Luo Qingtong, who had been standing there silently, suddenly raised her hand. Before the group of Martial King Realm experts could react, they felt the power of the threads around their bodies suddenly being pulled out. With a swish, they regained control of their bodies. The power in their bodies burst out at once. Do it. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. As early as when she had just set up the formation, she had already pulled all the threads in the bodies of these Martial King Realm experts into her hands. At this moment, with a sudden pull, everyone immediately regained their strength and control of their bodies at the same time. This was much better than removing their control in advance and making old monster Yin Qi suspicious and on his guard. Swish swish swish. After breaking free of control, the group of Martial King Realm experts instantly reacted and immediately rushed towards old monster Yin Qi in the middle of the cave. Old monster Yin Qi's face was full of shock and anger. He did not expect Martial King Realm experts to break free from his puppet thread's control. Seeing these Martial King Realm experts rushing over, the power of the silk threads around his body fluttered, and he was about to seal them again. At the same time, he hurriedly ordered the zombies guarding outside to rush in. Light. In an instant, the zombies that had been ordered to charge in were blocked outside. Luo Qingtong's clear and cold voice rang out. Left team front 4, right team back 8, left team front 8 steps. Luo Qingtong spoke so fast that the group of Martial King Realm experts did not react at first. Then they suddenly realized that Luo Qingtong was teaching them how to walk. They immediately did as she said. Swish. Chapter 270. The power of those threads had all landed on empty air. Following Luo Qingtong's voice, the Martial King Realm experts had easily evaded the power of those threads that old monster Yin Qi had shot out. It was as if they had appeared in another space as they walked. The power of those threads had clearly passed through their location, but they themselves were not affected in the slightest. Illusory space. Old monster Yin Qi suddenly cried out when he saw this. He seemed to have some understanding of formations, and he immediately understood what was going on when he saw this scene. Luo Qingtong had used a formation to create another independent space in this cave. This space would change according to the changes in the formation. Apart from Luo Qingtong, the person who had set up the formation, no one else would be able to see through this space unless their formation skills were stronger than Luo Qingtong's. It was even more impossible to control and harm the people inside through this space. However, what old monster Yin Qi could not understand was how Luo Qingtong had seen through the power of his threads. After all, a relatively independent space meant that both sides would not touch each other. He could not harm the Martial King Realm experts and they could not harm him either. Therefore, if the Martial King Realm experts wanted to deal with him, they would have to come out from that space. How had Luo Qingtong managed to make them enter the space in time when he had sent the power of his dancing threads over? Old Monster Yin-Chi could not understand. At this moment he would never have thought that Luo Qingtong would be able to clearly see through the power of the threads that had enveloped his entire body. Therefore, when he had attacked, Luo Qingtong had been able to timely remind the Martial King Realm experts to enter the space that had been opened up by the formation. Rumble. With Luo Qingtong's assistance, the Martial King Realm experts were instantly like tigers that had grown wings. After this experience, they finally understood that not only could Luo Qingtong remove the control of Old Monster Ghastly Puppet's soul seal, she could also see through Old Monster Ghastly Puppet's soul seal attacks. As such, what do they need to be afraid of? Previously they were afraid of Old Monster Yin-Chi only because the other party's puppet threads were terrifying. It was impossible to guard against them and they were controlled in an instant. It should be known that even if the strength of both sides were similar, they would not be controlled by Old Monster Yin-Chi like other low-level cultivators and become puppets under the control of the power of the soul seal. However, losing control of their bodies in that instant was enough to cause them to lose the initiative in the battle, allowing Old Freak Yin-Chi to gain the upper hand. Now that the latter had lost this powerful killing move, Old Monster Ghastly Puppet was no different from an ordinary martial king. Moreover, the meridians in his body were damaged. He couldn't display his full strength. Haha. Old Freak Yin-Chi, to think that you would have such a day. The group of people who had fallen into the hands of Old Monster Yin-Chi had suffered quite a bit of torture. At this moment, when they saw that the other party had completely lost the arrogance from before, their fighting spirit instantly erupted as they attacked Old Monster Yin-Chi. In an instant he was beaten to the point that he was in dire straits, battered and exhausted. All that was left of his arrogance was his head and face covered in dirt. You stinking woman. It's all your fault. At this moment Old Monster Yin-Chi finally reacted, no matter how stupid he was. This was all because of Luo Qingtong. If I don't kill this woman I may very well die here. After all, my corpse puppets can't enter and the power of the soul seal threads is unable to control these martial kings. As he thought of this, he forcefully withstood the attacks of the martial kings and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Chapter 271. Old Monster Yin-Chi's expression was sinister. He didn't care about the injuries to his meridians and burst out with a power that was enough to tear them apart. The power of those threads floated around him. If the group of Martial King experts got too close to him they would be controlled. Suddenly he rushed out of the encirclement. Seeing him rush towards Luo Qingtong, the group of Martial King experts suddenly cried out in alarm. Master! Be careful! After this series of events, the group of Martial King experts was already convinced of Luo Qingtong's strength. Moreover, they had already sworn an oath to the heavens and earth to submit to Luo Qingtong. The word, master, naturally came out of their mouths. The group of battle slave experts who were guarding Luo Qingtong were even more anxious. They stood in front of Luo Qingtong and used their bodies to protect Luo Qingtong. Master! Get out of the way! Luo Qingtong's voice was deep. Suddenly, a powerful aura surged out from her body, pushing away the group of battle slave experts who had rushed in front of her. No one dared to make a move against her and could only passively let her push them away. Master! Seeing this scene, the group of Martial King experts and battle slave experts instantly became anxious. No matter how powerful their master was, she was only a great martial general. Even if Luo Qingtong was an immortal, it was impossible for a great martial general to fight against a high-class Soul King expert. Even Little Pig, who was squatting on Luo Qingtong's shoulder and preparing to attack, was shocked. He knew that Luo Qingtong had killed a low-class martial king expert before. But a low-class martial king and a high-class soul king couldn't be compared at all. At that time Luo Qingtong had used almost all of her trump cards to kill that low-class martial king. This old monster Yin-Chi was an outstanding high-class soul king expert. Now that he had released the aura of a forbidden technique, his strength was even higher. She simply couldn't be his opponent. Was this woman's ego inflated because everything had gone too smoothly for her? Little Pig stomped on the ground. He really wanted to use his two little hooves to hug Luo Qingtong's face and shake it with all his might to wake her up. There were many experts in this world. It was not as simple as she thought. She mustn't be too complacent and play herself to death. Oh my God. The little bit of power that I had saved with great difficulty. I'm going to squander it all again. Little Pig's heart was filled with grief and indignation as he watched the ghastly puppet old monster approach. Was it easy for it to secretly save up a little power to improve itself? It was going to be used up again. But for this woman he had no choice but to use it. Otherwise, if that man came knocking and found out that something had happened to this woman, just thinking about it made her feel like she had nothing left to live for. While Little Pig was feeling depressed, Luo Qingtong concentrated all her mental power into her eyes. She didn't know how to use the power of the soul imprint, but Luo Qingtong was very clear on how to use her eye's special ability. In her dark red eyes that flickered with a bloody light, she was able to clearly see the strength of the ghastly puppet old monster, including his weak points. If the ghastly puppet old monster wasn't injured, Luo Qingtong wouldn't necessarily be able to seize the opportunity to attack. Even if she did, she wouldn't necessarily be able to break through. However, old monster ghastly puppet's meridians had already been injured previously. Then, under the siege of a group of Martial King realm experts, he had used a forbidden technique to withstand their attacks, adding injuries on top of injuries. Someone had already broken open a hole in a hard walnut for him, and even stabbed a knife into it. At this time, what did he need to do? Chapter 272. Swish. A dazzling black light suddenly lit up in Luo Qingtong's hand. The life and death dual right sword instantly appeared in her hand and transformed into the death blade state. In the next second, Luo Qingtong suddenly took a step forward with the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding tree in her hand. Boom! In the heart of the thousand-year soul guiding tree, the power transformed from the souls of the 5 Martial King experts was instantly absorbed by her. At the same time, the death blade in Luo Qingtong's hand was placed horizontally. The power around her body quickly boiled and gathered towards the death blade in her hand. That ferocious and berserk power suddenly transformed into a crescent-shaped sword light, rushing towards old monster Yin Qi, whose eyes had suddenly widened. Heaven-conquering art. Heaven-seizing style. What? Looking at the sword light that was completely unlike what a great martial general could produce, old monster Yin Qi's ferocious face was full of shock. Sword light. This is a sword light that can only be produced by a martial king. And this attack is already enough to kill a low-level a mid-level martial king. This woman, how did she do it? However, this power is still not enough. I am an upper-level soul king expert. This time the power of a forbidden technique has erupted. This woman, does she think she can kill me like this? What a joke. Wait till I capture her, I must torture her thoroughly. I have never ravaged such a genius girl before. I must make her suffer unbearably and live a life worse than death. She dared to scheme against me. Old monster Yin Qi's face was ferocious. In an instant he reacted and thought to himself. Looking at Luo Qingtong, his eyes regained their previous complacent and unfriendly light. Stinking woman, you have some ability. But this attack can't do anything to me. He looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Under the shocked gazes of the Martial King realm experts and battle slaves, he faced Luo Qingtong's attack and pounced at her with a shrill cry. Break this attack, capture this woman and break this formation. When the time came he would kill everyone here. Old monster Yin Qi's face was extremely ferocious. The smile on his face twitched like a ghost. Master. The group of Martial King realm experts and battle slave realm experts also recovered from the powerful sword ray that Luo Qingtong had just brandished and recklessly rushed forward. Master's attack may be powerful, but it's not enough against a high-class soul king like old monster Yin Qi. But just as they were thinking this, they heard old freak Yin Qi, who was rushing towards the sword beam, suddenly let out a sharp cry. That cry was incomparably miserable. Before the crowd could react, they saw the sword beam slash open old monster Yin Qi's body. Old monster Yin Qi's eyes bulged. Never had he imagined that there was actually an attack mixed within that sword light. In an instant, it struck the spot where he had been injured by the divine sky-connecting beast's power. How was this possible? That injury had long been healed by him. From the surface, it was impossible to tell that he had been injured. How did the other party know where the wound was? And it had accurately hit that spot. In an instant, it had ignited the power of the divine sky-connecting beast. Old monster Yin Qi looked at Luo Qingtong in shock, full of disbelief. Chapter 273. Bang! Old freak Yin Qi's corpse fell heavily to the ground. His eyes were wide open and he died with his eyes wide open. He didn't know how Luo Qingtong did it. It could be said that he didn't die by Luo Qingtong's hands, but by the power of the divine sky-connecting beast entrenched in his body. But no one could see his injuries clearly, and no one would know where he was injured, and where the power of the divine sky-connecting beast had not been removed. How did Luo Qingtong know? Bang! As old freak Yin Qi's corpse fell to the ground, the cave became silent. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. Those martial king experts' mouths were wide open as they looked at the two halves of old freak Yin Qi's corpse on the ground, and then looked at Luo Qingtong's calm expression as she sheathed her sword, and they couldn't stop swallowing their saliva. Oh my God! Was what they saw real? This was Master's doing? A great martial general had killed a high-class soul king? And it was that kind of expert with a special soul seal? One had to know that experts with special soul seals were much more powerful than those with ordinary soul seals. Their abilities were also much more strange. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong's array, their group of 7 or 8 people wouldn't have any chance of winning against the crazy old freak Yin Qi. And this was under the circumstance that the other party didn't have the help of a corpse puppet. But Luo Qingtong had directly killed the other party in front of them. This kind of visual and spiritual shock was simply too strong. In an instant, the group of martial king experts who had been forced to submit to Luo Qingtong felt an extremely reverent feeling towards the girl in front of them. They might not even have this kind of feeling even when facing someone stronger than them. Killing a high-grade soul king as a martial general, this was definitely the first person in history. More importantly, there were so many of them, but not a single one of them could see how she did it. Even though the strength of that attack was clearly formidable, it hadn't arrived at the level of being able to instantly annihilate old freak Yin Qi. Everyone thought about it and felt that it was inconceivable. Their reverence for Luo Qingtong was even greater. People were not afraid of others being stronger than them. What they were afraid of was not knowing how the other party was stronger than them. In the eyes of the martial king realm experts, Luo Qingtong's move was simply unpredictable. On top of that, the other party's ability to set up a formation and the medicinal liquid that was fed into their mouths. Oh my God! Did they recognize an incredible master? Master? After a long period of silence, the group of martial king experts didn't dare to speak at all. However, the group of battle slave experts had already been stimulated by the fact that Luo Qingtong, a martial general, had killed a martial king who had just entered the martial king realm. At this moment they quickly regained their senses and cautiously called out to Luo Qingtong. Yes. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice and said casually, "Dispose of the body and search for the things on him." Yes. As soon as she spoke, the atmosphere in the crowd became lively. The group of martial king experts hurriedly volunteered to help. They didn't feel that this kind of behavior was degrading to their status at all. Oh my God. Being together with Master is really too stressful. Especially when they had just spoken rudely to Master. The group of people dejectedly carried old freak Yin Qi's body out. As for Little Pig, after the battle slave expert spoke, he immediately jumped up. His 2 little hooves grabbed onto Luo Qingtong's clothes, as if he couldn't wait to claw on her body. Quickly tell me how you did it. Master. Just as Luo Qingtong was about to speak, a voice sounded from outside at this moment. Chapter 274. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong got up and walked out of the cave. What's the matter? She walked in front of the group of Martial King Realm experts. The peak Martial King Realm expert took the lead and respectfully handed a book to Luo Qingtong. This is something we found on the Xianxia old monster. It's a special secret technique. It should have been created by that old monster. Please take a look, Master. The peak Martial King realm expert was experienced and knowledgeable. As soon as he received this secret technique, he immediately felt that it was different from others. He immediately gave it to Luo Qingtong to take a look. Qiong Qi 100 changes? Luo Qingtong took the secret technique. Seeing the 4 words written on it, she instantly raised her eyebrows. She thought of the disguise of the Xianxia old monster. Could it be the effect of the secret technique? Luo Qingtong opened the secret technique in her hand and was immediately attracted by it. She saw that it was written on how to use one's mental power and soul power to change oneself from the inside out. From the appearance to the body to the bones, it could be flawless. Even one's aura could be replicated. However, this kind of disguise was only on the surface. Once someone suspected your identity and sent their aura into your body to investigate, you would be exposed in an instant. But even so, it was already very powerful. Even one's aura could be replicated. If it was used in an assassination, it could be completely unexpected. Luo Qingtong thought and quickly glanced at the secret technique. She quickly grasped the essentials of this transformation secret technique. After all, her pupil technique was an ability that was activated by mental power. No one knew the usage of mental power better than she did. As for soul power, she didn't lack it. With a crackling sound, Luo Qingtong's figure instantly became taller and wider. All the bones in her body were reorganized in an instant. Her appearance, temperament, and aura also underwent a great change. In just a moment, she turned into the appearance of the peak Martial King realm expert in front of her. The two stood together like twins. From top to bottom, from aura to face, there was no difference. In an instant, the group of battle slaves and martial kings looked at Luo Qingtong with horrified gazes. Master had grasped the usage of that secret technique so quickly. Did he not need to adapt at all? No. The main point was, Master? You're also a soul cultivator? The peak martial king's voice trembled. My heavens! Mistress isn't just strong, she's also good at setting up formations and concocting medicine. Is she a soul cultivator? Could it be that what she used to kill that old freaking Qi was a type of soul seal ability? However, Master's strength was not that high. Even if he could use the power of the soul seal, it would not be possible for him to kill old monster Qi so easily, right? As the crowd thought about this, they were both shocked and confused. Is like a cat scratching. Yes. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice. Seeing that her appearance was slightly different from that of the expert at the peak of the Martial King realm, she immediately adjusted her temperament. Soon there was no difference between her and the peak Martial Emperor realm expert. Very good. Luo Qingtong made those Martial Kings turn their backs. She took the peak Martial King realm expert and turned around. Afterwards, those martial kings who had been with this peak Martial King realm expert for a long time couldn't recognize the two of them. Luo Qingtong nodded with satisfaction. With a crackling sound, she withdrew her aura and changed back to her original appearance. Let's go. Let's go back. Luo Qingtong said and was about to leave, but she was stopped by the group of martial kings who had recovered from their shock. Chapter 275. What's the matter? Luo Qingtong turned around and looked at them. The group of Martial King realm experts raised their hands and pointed at the corpse of the Xianxia old monster. Master, this Xianxia old monster is on the hunting list of the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty. Don't you want to take something from him so that you can claim the bounty in the future? Yes, Master. Although you may not be interested in the bounty, the sacred dynasties encourage this kind of hunting. In addition to the bounty, there are other rewards for those who have outstanding achievements, such as nobility, treasures, and so on. Yes. In addition, there are some special qualifications such as bidding for the secret meeting's entrance card, which can also be obtained by claiming the reward. Master, you'd better not miss it. There's such a thing? Luo Qingtong did not expect there to be such a thing. Hunting list? What's that? Published by the Empire of Qin's sacred dynasty? What's the criteria? She asked with interest. It's just some evil people who are roaming around and doing evil. The government can't catch them for a while. In addition, there are some fierce beasts that appear in various places. If the local government can't deal with them, They will be reported to the Sacred Dynasty. The officials of the Sacred Dynasty will publish them on the hunting list for various cultivators to hunt. The group of Martial King Realm experts said. They had traveled extensively and naturally knew a lot of things. Master, this Xianxia old monster is ranked 56th on the hunting list. Killing him will give you merit points. In the future, when Master goes to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Dynasty, these merit points will be useful. The biggest advantage is that you don't need to be restricted by checkpoints when entering and leaving the cities. In addition, you will also enjoy certain privileges in the cities. After accumulating a certain amount of merit points, you can exchange them for a nobility title. Yes. The group of people talked at once. I see. Luo Qingtong thought. Then I'll take something. Anything will do? Yes. As long as it has the aura of the other party. The Sacred Dynasty will have a way to verify it. The Peak Martial King Realm expert said. All right. Luo Qingtong nodded. She raised her hand, and a piece of cloth stained with old monster Xianxia's aura fell into her hand. She then stuffed it into the storage space of the waste product in her hand. This thing will naturally come in handy when Luo Qingtong arrives at the Holy Dynasty. Without anyone controlling them, the zombies outside all fell to the ground. Everyone casually cleaned up the battlefield and found several people on the hunting list. However, they were all small characters on the yellow list. Even if they killed them, they would not get any merit points. They would only get some rewards. Moreover, if they weren't the ones who killed those people, the Holy Dynasty would naturally have their own ways to determine that. The crowd didn't think too much about it. That old dog, his death is too easy. The crowd also discovered the corpses of many Martial King Realm experts. They were all captured along with them and then killed by ghastly puppet. Many people knew each other and they immediately felt an indescribable sorrow. Luo Qingtong observed her surroundings and suddenly realized that this place was not bad in the Nine Magi Mountains. Secluded and quiet. Perhaps the people around her could use this place as a stronghold. She could also use old monster Xianxia's name to act as a cover. After all, the royal treasury in Luo Qingtong's storage rings should be found somewhere for the Luo family to store, right? She thought that this place was pretty good. With that thought, Luo Qingtong left a group of Martial King Realm experts here and let them clean up the valley for future strongholds. Chapter 276. The group of experts did not know why Luo Qingtong suddenly changed her mind. But since it was their master's order, they naturally obeyed. Immediately, the group of Martial King experts stayed behind. Luo Qingtong led a group of Martial Marquis level battle slaves into the city. In any case, a group of Martial Marquis level experts were enough to deal with in Windgaze City. Bang! Luo Qingtong had just reached the entrance of the Luo residence when the door opened with a bang and a person was instantly sent flying out. Scram! If you dare to step into the Luo residence again, we will break your legs. An angry voice came from behind the Luo residence's door. Then Luo Qingtong saw a group of Luo residence's iron guards rushing out. Humph! Our master and young miss pitied you and sent me to persuade you. You Luo residence's iron guards, don't be so shameless. What are you shouting about? Break my legs? I will stand here and let you hit me. Do you dare to hit me? Humph! Who doesn't know that the Luo family is about to be finished? Old Master Luo's cultivation has regressed and he is about to become a cripple. The king has already ordered to abolish his duties as the commander of the three armies and take back his authority to command the three armies. The Luo family of this generation. It is about to decline. In the future, only our master and young miss will be able to stand on top of the family. What future do you have if you follow an old man who will become a cripple at some point in time? It is better to rely on our master and young miss. In the future there will be plenty of benefits for you. That person was thrown out of the Luo residence, but he was not afraid. He got up from the ground and looked up at the Luo residence's iron guards with a face full of arrogance. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for your strength, our master and young miss would not have bothered to give you this chance. The Luo family will soon go bankrupt. You should obediently lower your heads and follow me back to, Speaking up to here, that person suddenly flew out with a bang. He slammed into the ground in a parabola and then slammed into the foot of the stone lion in front of the Luo residence's gate. In the next second, with a bang, A delicate and small boot heavily stepped on his chest, fiercely stomping the servant who was dizzy from the impact. Bang! That person fell on the stone lion and heaved a heavy sigh. Before he could get up to see who had hit him, he was ruthlessly stomped back to the ground. There was a cracking sound in his chest and his entire sternum caved in. It was so painful that he screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Who hit me? Let me tell you, Luo family's iron guards. I was sent by Second Master and Miss Ning. Our Second Master is now a loyal and courageous duke. You hit me, are you trying to? What do you want? The voice was clear and did not carry a trace of coldness, but it made one's heart turn cold for no reason. It suddenly rang in his ears. That man's pig-like voice suddenly stopped, and his eyes widened as he looked at Luo Qingtong, who was stepping on his body. Big, 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 big. Before he could finish his words, the guards at the gate of the Luo clan had already reacted. They were pleasantly surprised to see the red-clothed girl in front of them. Young miss, please come back. Young miss. The crowd was indescribably excited, but the servant who had just spoken fiercely shuddered. Young Miss Luo? Didn't they say that her foundation was damaged in the Nine Magi Mountain? Although she was lucky enough to break through to the Martial Master realm, she was unable to advance further and was ashamed of her inferiority to the point that she did not dare to appear in front of others. Chapter 277. The servant shuddered as he thought of this. However, he soon realized what was going on. Now why should he be afraid? If it weren't for Luo Qingtong, the Luo family wouldn't be in such a predicament. One had to know that his master and Miss Ning wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong because she had angered Tianyu's royal family by breaking off the engagement with grandfather Luo. If it was before, he might have been afraid of Luo Qingtong. After all, without strength, she still had the status of the fifth prince's wife. But now, Tianyu's royal family wanted to teach the Luo family a lesson. All the nobles of Dongli country were busy standing in the way. Even the royal family had given up on the Luo family. What was there to be afraid of? Thinking of this, he immediately raised his head. So what if she's the eldest daughter of the Luo family? The current Luo family is no better than a chicken. Let me tell you, in the future, the Luo family in Windgaze City will only be the Luo family built by our master and Miss Ning. Your duke residence will be nothing in the future. You won't even be able to keep your duke residence. In addition, other than the status of the fifth prince's wife, what else can you use to compare with our Miss Ning? You still don't know, right? Our Miss Ning has already broken through to the martial general realm. She's already a fourth-grade martial general. Look at yourself. That servant looked at Luo Qingtong's disguised martial master strength and snorted coldly. His disdain was extremely strong. Damn it, where did this idiot come from? When they saw this scene, the group of battle slave experts that were hidden in the shadows almost gnashed their teeth to pieces. Where did this stupid dog come from? Biting people as soon as he caught them. Did he know their master's true strength? If he said it out loud, he would be scared to death. Their master had just taken in a bunch of martial king experts and killed a high-grade soul king, okay? A fourth-grade martial general dared to be arrogant in front of their master. They really wanted to rush out and torture this bastard to death. But their master said that without her orders, they were not allowed to reveal their whereabouts or make a move. How infuriating. The group of battle slave experts were furious, but Little Pig, who was in Luo Qingtong's sleeve, was delighted. Oh my god. I'm dying of laughter. Woman, you're being looked down upon. A fourth-grade martial general was so powerful. I'm so scared. Tell me, why don't I just defect and go to live with his young miss? Maybe his family's young miss is even stronger than a high-class soul king as a fourth-rank martial general. She can kill you in an instant. Little Pig was laughing so hard inside Luo Qingtong's sleeve that he fell down. It shook her sleeves and made her robe sway. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she listened to the voice transmission in her mind. The next second, bang. Before the servant could react, Luo Qingtong kicked him to the door of the Luo family and he knelt down. His back was bent like a shrimp, and under Luo Qingtong's kick he couldn't even straighten his back. His eyes were wide open as he pointed in Luo Qingtong's direction. He was shocked and terrified, but he couldn't say a word. Luo Qingtong calmly walked past him. Make him kowtow 100 times as an apology for my grandfather and the Luo family. Then chop him into 8 pieces and send them to his master. Let them know the consequences of being heartless and ungrateful. Tell Luo Xining that I'll collect the debt she owes me and the Luo family. Tell her to wait for me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she walked into the Luo family's gate like the wind. Chapter 278. Grandfather. In Old Master Luo's room, Luo Qingtong stepped into it and saw Old Master Luo lying on the bed with white hair. The latter is lying on the bed with a pale face without a trace of blood on his face. That face looks a lot older than when Luo Qingtong left, completely without the previous hale and hearty spirit. Layers of twilight shroud his body. Especially the white hair on his temples. Who knows how much more it is than before. What's going on? Luo Qingtong looks at Luo Leoi like this and rushes forward to take his pulse. Eldest Mississippi Luo Leoi's personal guard, who followed Luo Qingtong into the room, kneels on the ground with a bang. This subordinate did not protect him well enough. The Marquis suddenly became like this 3 days ago. His cultivation is constantly dissipating, and now? The guard commander's face is full of pain. He's only left with the cultivation of a great martial general. Great martial general? That's still too little. Luo Qingtong's face is cold as she lets go of Luo Leoi's wrist. She just checked Luo Leoi's pulse with her breath, and found out that his strength has already dropped to the 6th level of a martial general. His cultivation is still declining sharply. Under Luo Qingtong's probing, Luo Leoi's meridians are constantly shrinking. Those meridians that had already been opened and were incomparably spacious would once again revert back to their original state before they were opened and opened. A martial artist's power is stored and circulated in these meridians. When these meridians return to their original state, the power derived from the open meridians will naturally dissipate. Luo Leoi's strength is declining again and again. The speed is extremely fast. In less than 3 days he will completely turn into an ordinary person. This is even more unbearable than crippling the Dantian. After all, after crippling the Dantian, as long as the Dantian is repaired, the power that dissipated will come back again. But for someone like Luo Leoi, who was forced to disperse his cultivation, if he wants to regain his previous strength, he can only cultivate again. He had to cultivate again. How old is Luo Lake? The strength that he cultivated for most of his life is gone in 1 day. How much time does he have to cultivate back to his original strength? And in this turbulent period of the Luo family, Luo Qingtong can imagine that the person who did this to Luo Leoi wanted to anger him to death. Humiliate him. Luo Qingtong's cold eyes look at the blood on Luo Leoi's lips. The blood has not completely dried up yet. Luo Leoi was awake before, but he was angered to vomit blood and fainted. The Luo Leoi, who else could it be? Luo Leoi's life? Now he's old Luo's blood. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned indescribably cold at the thought of that person claiming that old Master Luo would be a cripple in the future. What the hell is going on? Who did this? Of Luo everything's Luo's miss, we haven't. The Iron Guard commander thought Luo Qingtong was asking about him. Just as he was about to answer, a series of bangs came from outside. A group of people appeared in front of the door and knelt on the ground. Master. The battle slaves who stayed behind to look after Luo Leoi broke out in cold sweat. They knelt on the ground and didn't dare to raise their heads. Chapter 279. Speak. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold and she had no intention of telling them to get up. What did she tell them before she left? They had to keep an eye on grandfather Luo and not let anything happen to him. But now, her grandfather was lying unconscious on the bed. And he had been angered to the point of vomiting blood by a bunch of clowns. Was this how they protected her grandfather? Forget about the group of martial lord realm battle slaves. They had been captured by old monster Yin Qi, so they couldn't care about Windgaze City. But what about the people left behind? Were they all dead? If that was the case, what use did she have for them? She might as well kill them one by one. Luo Qingtong was furious. If it weren't for the fact that Grandpa Luo was still unconscious in the room, she would have kicked all of them out of the room. Suppressing the anger in her heart, she had already given them a lot of face. Just as Luo Qingtong was enraged, the Luo family guard commander who wanted to answer was dumbfounded. This, a row of martial general and martial lord realm cultivators? They were kneeling in front of their young miss, and all of them were so respectful and fearful? He wasn't dreaming, was he? The commander of the Luo family's guards fiercely rubbed his eyes. The group of Luo family's guards outside the room felt it even more directly. Looking at the group of experts kneeling outside the door, they felt a shock in their hearts. It was as if their souls were about to be shaken out of their bodies. Oh my God. Is this real? Just as the group was shocked speechless, the remaining battle slaves heard the cold anger in Luo Qingtong's voice, and they immediately panicked and hurriedly kowtowed. Master, we have failed in our duty. We didn't expect the Luo family's second master to attack Grandfather Luo. By the time we reacted, it was already too late. As the group spoke, they kowtowed loudly. They really didn't guard against the Luo family. But who would have thought that Luo Lauer, the son of Grandpa Luo, would actually lay his hands on Grandpa Luo? Logically speaking, he and the Luo family were bound together for good or ill. If Grandfather Luo and the Luo family were to fall, what good would it do him? But Luo Lauer did it. Moreover, it was done silently. Due to his special identity and the fact that the poison he fed Old Master Luo did not take effect immediately, no one noticed it. It was only when Old Master Luo began to disperse his cultivation that they realized something was wrong. They immediately went through everything and set their sights on the second Old Master Luo. But there was nothing he could do now. Old Master Luo had fallen into the trap. Its second master? The Luo clan's iron guards were shocked when they heard this. They didn't have time to think about how Luo Qingtong could have so many experts by her side. It's him. No wonder he immediately set up a new sect after the marquis fell. And he even said something about continuing the glory of the Luo family. I won't let the Luo clan's roots end in the hands of eldest miss. Bastard, it's simply abominable. The Luo clan's iron guards were furious. They were kept in the dark before and didn't know the truth of the matter. Although they were angry at Luo Lauer for adding insult to injury, they didn't think that Luo Lauer's accident was related to him. After all, Luo Lauer and the Marquis were father and son. They never thought that Luo Lauer would dare to do such a disgraceful thing. Bastard, is he still human? The Marquis is their father and grandfather. How dare he use such a dirty method to destroy the Marquis and the Luo family? Chapter 280. Luo Xinning. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was cold. How could she not know that the second elder of the Luo family was cowardly and incompetent? He had ambition but no guts. He would never have thought of such an idea. It must be Luo Xinning's idea. Of course, the royal family of Tianyu had contributed to this. Otherwise, where would they get the medicine to dissolve Elder Luo's cultivation? How could Luo Xinning and the others get the medicine to dissolve a peak martial lord's cultivation? And to dissolve the cultivation instead of destroying it was enough to prove that the other party wanted to humiliate Elder Luo even more. The feeling of helplessness while watching one's cultivation drop was enough to drive anyone crazy. The royal family of Tianyu was taking revenge on Elder Luo for breaking off the engagement. They wanted to destroy Elder Luo's cultivation, remove the influence of the Luo family, and destroy the Luo family. How could the royal family of an imperial-level superpower be so disgusting? And Luo Xinning, she was addicted to being a dog. She was willing to be called a bitch by the royal family of Tianyu. How dare they do this to grandfather and the Luo family? The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes turned colder. At this moment, Elder Luo's weak voice came from the room. Qingtong. Old Master Luo opened his eyes and saw the fiery red figure sitting beside him. He thought he was seeing things. Grandfather. Seeing that Old Master Luo had woken up, Luo Qingtong hurriedly held his hand and helped him up. Qingtong, it's good that you're back. Grandfather is old and useless. I can't protect you. Elder Luo looked at Luo Qingtong with guilt. Grandfather didn't succeed in breaking off the engagement in the Tianyu Empire. Those bastards in the royal family of Tianyu insisted that the seventh princess was just playing around and wouldn't break off the engagement. They even warned us not to do too much. Grandfather was going to risk his life to prevent you from marrying into the Tianyu Empire, but, grandfather, you'll be fine. Luo Qingtong held Elder Luo's hand and said word by word. She could hear the sadness in old Master Luo's voice, like a hero past his prime. Losing his strength this time was a huge blow to old Master Luo. For a martial artist, a former marquis, and a commander of the 3 armies, what could be more unbearable than losing his strength? You don't have to comfort Grandpa. Grandpa Luo forced a smile and patted the back of her hand. I've been in the military all my life. What haven't I seen? Wasn't it just a loss of strength? He was fine. I'll just cultivate again. In the past I was able to cultivate to the peak of the martial marquis realm. Now I can do it again. I want those who want to laugh at me and the Luo family to see that even if I'm a cripple, I'm still the Duke Xianxia of the past. Old Master Luo's words were full of pride, but the Luo family's guards felt extremely sad when they heard it. Everyone knew that old Master Luo was able to cultivate to the peak of the martial marquis realm because he was young and energetic. But now he was already old and his meridians were also aging. If he was given the same amount of time, he might not be able to cultivate back to the peak of the martial marquis realm. Moreover, the old man might not have that much time left. How many times could a person have half a lifetime? There was only one. Unless old Master Luo's talent and physique became extremely strong, it was basically impossible for him to cultivate back to the original realm in this lifetime. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.